Hey people, it's Monday. Pardon the big smack, funky mouth. 15th of June. I'm listening to NPR, and it's becoming more apparent, or leastways it's being discussed more now in public, about what's really going on, which is the economic disparity. You know, that's really a big part of what the problem is. Besides racism, it's a stacked deck in the favor of a small group of people, and it's been like this for a long time. And it's becoming apparent that if that doesn't change, we're just going to have chaos, like we do now, and it'll just continue. Okay, so on to music, right? Well, yeah, I'm going to talk about music, but again, you folks who keep wishing that I would only talk about music, you may as well just go away. That ain't happening. I'll talk about whatever I damn well please. I got your ear, or maybe I don't. I'm going to say what's on my mind. So, another great musician has passed away. And it's just to be expected because we're all getting old. But Keith Tippett, English pianist who plays a very important role in the history of progressive rock. His name has already come up in this book a bunch. He passed away yesterday, I understand. And I've got him all over my collection. Of course, we know him from King Crimson. We know him from Lizards. I know him from Islands. I just had the Cat Food single out that he plays that wonderful Cecil Taylor-like break-in. The amazing Septober Energy by Centipede. This was his undertaking, his project. Really quite a work, and the personnel that he used on this album is just stunning. Martin Archer of Discus Music had the great pleasure of working with Keith Tippett these last few years, and has been releasing his stuff. So I've received it. I've talked about it. The 9 Dances of Patrick O'Gonigan. I just reviewed this last year. Keith Tippett Group Octet. Quite the force. The Unlonely Rain Dancer. I have the Overy Lodge. I used to have the album produced by Robert Fripp. So sorry I sold it. Here's one that I'd love to have on vinyl and I have never. It's on Vertigo, so it's expensive. Dedicated to you, Robert, but you weren't listening. Dedicated to you, but you weren't listening, rather, I should say. The Keith Tippett Group. I've always loved that cover, too. This is one that goes for big money. He was quite a musician, though. Besides jazz and progressive rock, he did session work. And so he's on this album by Ian Matthews. Tigers Will Survive. I love this album. Matthews was in Southern Comfort and some other groups. I like his songwriting and his voice, but Keith Tippett plays piano on here. I was listening to some other things. Did I put them away? No, thankfully I didn't. Because again, the English music scene has been very important to me. Ever since the Beatles, I've been keeping a real eagle eye on England when it comes to music. Julie Driscoll, who was a pop sensation in the 60s over in England, married Keith Tippett and changed her name to Julie Tippett. Interesting. And here's one of her albums, Sunset Glow. Keith is all over this. This is a really unique and deep album. It's not easy to get through, but it's real good and pretty intense and uncompromising. That's something else I like, is when music just do what you're going to do. Let's find out. interesting comments regarding this album. I love it. I don't know what people are saying. I think this album is fantastic. But again, we all have different opinions and ways of hearing things. So this is one of my top albums, no matter what anybody else says, right? We share our thoughts, and that's cool. I think this album is fantastic. I love it. EDQ, Elton Dean with Keith Tippett and Louis Maholo. They all be on this old road. I hadn't played this in a while, so I listened to this all the way. And all these guys were real players, not fake, not phony wannabe jazzers. They really could play. And Keith Tippett's contribution to this album is massive. It's massive. So that's really the main thing that I'll share. I'm still reading that book. Excuse me. I pulled something to play while reading the book. Didn't I? Oh, Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Yeah, the book. This book about prog rock is really fun. I'm really enjoying it, and it's going really chronologically. And so now they're up to Emerson Lake. Well, I just got done with Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and now we're on to Genesis. But they really do. The fellow really does lay it down well. I do have the majority of the classic prog rock albums. If I don't have them on vinyl, I have them on CD or burned CD. But I have pretty much everything. I do. Okay, I'm going to stop there. Keep this one short. I'm listening to the news, and it, like I said, SNFU is this t-shirt. You guys know them? Skinny Nuns from Utah is one of the names of the band. Punk Greats. I've opened a show for them with REF. Partied with them all night. They were great guys. Chai Pig. Anyway, I'm listening and watching the news all over the world, and one thing I'm encouraged by is that the old line of bullshit where the old guard who have the money and all the resources are talking shit, trying to protect their position, and it's becoming really apparent what that's about, which is nothing but greed. Far beyond racism, we have all these dumb, ignorant people who are caught up in the racism of being used, as pawns by the ruling class. Set us against one another while they sit up on the hill and collect and collect the money. Thankfully, many people that I know are waking up to the madness, and joining together. Unfortunately, I do still know some people who are really, really lost in their senseless hate of brown and black people. They're just lost. So, like I said, I'm encouraged that it's becoming more apparent what we're up against, which is a very unfair system that uses people against one another. And racism has been a big, big, big component of keeping people down and keeping the advantage by a certain small group. The fight will go on for justice, sense, things making sense, and some sort of equality to be moved towards. It won't happen while I'm alive, but things are moving. Once again, the Egypt. I've got it. I've got copies for sale. I'm getting ready to take these out and to the mail and post them. $10 plus postage. She only had 100 of those made. She's negotiating with Tup Gong to get a vinyl release. That's what we want. That's what we want the label to do besides the other things they help with, which actually is very little, since I know it from the inside. You as an artist, when you hook up with a label, you're the last in line. You work the hardest and get the least unless you hit it big, and even then you've got to fight for your share. But she's trying to get a vinyl release. It looks possible, but there's only 100 of these grab it. It is very good. Take care, folks. This COVID-19 epidemic is just very... When I really look at what's going on here, I won't be scared, but I'll just say that we're blowing it. The worst is still yet to come, people. Our leaders are really screwed up, focused on the wrong thing. Materialism instead of life.